Vanquish Soul and Malice in the same deck. I don't know who let this duelist cook, but you are my absolute hero. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome. Your breakdown for the Iowa Regional is so weird to me because Malice Vanquish Soul is now a real deck. This is a deck that you're going to have to think about now, and you're going to have to be like, oh, that's real? I mean, yeah, we already were thinking about, you know, Malice kind of getting a chance to come back, but, you know, if you're just rolling out here and you're looking at Vanquish Soul, now suddenly, you know, like, this is kind of turned into a new game. Now, we also did have a pure Malice deck making it into the top tables, too. You know, they weren't all being creative. I mean, they just kind of called up Old Reliable out here, and they decided that, you know, they were going to get a chance to actually work out. Now, for the rest of your top cut, you did have two Mitsurugi variants. No matter how you want to spend this, Mitsu's going to kind of continue to be that deck that's going to, you know, be a little bit more annoying than the rest of the meta. I get it. It's just going to do its thing. We also did have a Dragon Tail list. Now, obviously, Dragon Tail still has all of its fusion capabilities. You know, you're able to kind of rip apart boards relatively easily. And I think that's one of the reasons why we all kind of love this deck. We also did have a Yummy deck. Once again, I mean, this is a regional, man. Like, if there's a Yummy deck not showing up into Top Cut, doesn't that just feel a little bit weird? We did have a Crystron deck, and I think that's one of the more interesting ideas that we've seen. Crystron, you know, we did get Noroi for this list, or for this, you know, set, which did kind of open up the doors for what you could do. And we also had an Odon deck. Now, this is before, you know, all that big success out of the YCS. This is all happening simultaneously. So somebody else had the formula to success out here. And I actually think that that's a really, really cool thing to be seeing. So let's pass on over to those top deck lists. Starting things off here, we have our Vanquish Soul Malice deck. Now, you're probably like, How did this end up working out? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Chi-Chi-Chi's interaction in this deck, because this is not only a fire monster for you to be able to kind of piggyback off, we can also normal summon this, go search for, you know, basically a Malice piece, and, you know, we're kind of just off to the races at that point. You're also kind of trading off the Exceed package that this deck, you know, loved to see for the idea of we're just going to do full link plays. You know, Rock of the Vanquishers, its job is just to put extra bodies on the field, you know, and it's always going to be what its job is. But also, you know, once you kind of set up and go down these lines, you know, Borgor just turns into free draw power. You know, the Kaiser Varius is going to get you that form of interruption. It works out very, very well. You also do have the Saruja, the Skull Dragon, in here, which ends up just being another little piece for you to work with. I mean, this card literally says, hey, you want to draw 4 cards? Okay, cool. I found a Malice piece. Now we can go ahead and extend out a Malice card and we can do our thing. I don't know if you give that enough of a respect either, but that works out very, very well. This is a scenario where some unlikely combinations of cards are able to kind of bring out the best results for, you know, things. And also, we are playing all 3 of the traps. I don't think people really like doing this as much, which understandably so. I mean, you do run into some like unstable options. It does happen, but you're going to be working things out. Also, bringing back the Link monster at this point, or, you know, anything that you need to bring back usually ends up being pretty strong. Oh boy, we have Yummy. Now, maybe they didn't get the memo, but I mean, most of these lists are cutting down on Lollipop at this point. Poor Lollipop just ends up being a detriment in these days, because the card just does not feel all that good. You know, it's like, oh boy, you know, another dead card that came up in the scenario. Yeah, I get it. We're also only playing 1 Yummy Surprise. Now, this feels a little bit more awkward than I kind of initially was thinking, because most of these builds, I think most people are like, you want double Yummy Surprise. Obviously, I guess Marshmallow can technically pull the piece back, but that honestly doesn't feel too good. Like, what if you can't get to the Marshmallow to, you know, pull back the resource? then, you know, it just kind of doesn't feel very, very strong. So I guess little things to consider in the deck building space here of what you're doing. All right, next up here, we have the man with the mark. Oh boy. Well, first of all, going with two Anubis, going with the triple man with the mark, that's fine. I'm so used to seeing that, you know, these builds were latching on to trying to play the Fiendsmith cards. Because you guys remember last format, one of the strongest things that this list was doing was, hey, you know, we have Fiendsmith cards. Let's incorporate these into the deck. But no, if you just take a step back and just realize, hey, you know, we can use things like evenly matched here and kind of go second. That's the thing. Obviously, if you go first, you're just going to have a smile on your face because, you know, you're just going to set up full combo and then your opponent's going to have to deal with that. But this build did something a little bit different than the other builds. You know, you're relying on super polys here for board breaking. You have the evenlies. You're just going with, you know, 4 main decked board breaking. Well, I guess technically talents is going to help you out here. But post side decking, you're bringing in another 5. So you're technically relying on 10 cards to give you an opportunity to crack apart your opponent's board. There's nothing wrong with that. You have every scenario that you could want working in your favor here for this. I understand why this deck is very, very strong. Also, Iron Thunder getting a chance to actually get some spotlight out here is both hilarious and absolutely amazing, and I do appreciate that. Our next list here is the Strongron K9 deck. Now, Noroi changes this deck. Noroi gives this deck a completely new meaning in the way that it is able to do its thing, because now you have another machine monster that you can kind of, you know, see on the way back, because now the Lantern can actually bring back this machine, and we can actually cheat out the Platinum Gadget after, you know, we go down the River Stormer, and congratulations, you're now able to deploy the broken Scrap Recycler here, and then you're able to go down full Crystron combo. Yeah, losing Inclusion was a little bit of a blow to this deck. Nobody's really going to argue that. But we are going to have to understand that as time and progression has kind of gone on, that this deck is just such a monster. Even in the developing format here, I think what you're seeing is really, really nice. Also, Dawn Dragster. We also have double Exoskeletus. Man, English hard. We're also going with the K9, the Ripper. I think that this is also kind of important. Ripper just kind of ensures that you do get those key rips away from the opponent, which does end up being pretty good. Also, dear old Clockwork Knight is such a stupid card. The fact they're not playing the Clockwork Knight spell card to go with this for the Floodgate potential is a little bit off-putting, but I guess I can understand why. And then we've got, Mitsurugi. Main decking the Shifter checks out. We are only playing 2 copies of Extra, so you kind of trade off the 1 copy of Extra to play the Pot of Prosperity in here. Usually the logic is with that, you know, if we have to go a little bit further into the deck to find those options, we're actually able to do so. It's actually kind of the cool thing about the pure version of this deck. We still are doing the Night Sword server. I mean, look, man, this is another free extender that gets the chance to pop out of the deck. I don't know why, you know, you would be stepping away from this. We also do see that you have Dimensional Fissures down here. It's actually kind of hilarious to me that this deck has become, you know, kind of like a Floodgate-ish turbo style of deck, where you're kind of relying on the Dimensional Fissures here to kind of clean up really anything problematic that the opponent might be trying to abuse. So I do find that to be really, really funny, but very, very standard Mitsu list. Now we do have one more list here, and it is another Mitsu list. You do see a very subtle change here. You know, you see the Shifter being gutted out of the main deck, but you also do see Fossil Dyna showing up down here as another little chance to, you know, pull off of the Gallant Granite for, you know, shiggles. We also do see the Light Dragon Adagnister down here, basically protecting your stuff from being blown up by these card effects. I don't know how good that's going to be, but it is another scenario of just the rank 4, you know, toolbox options that you're actually able to work with. And that seems really, really cool. So what do you guys think about all this? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. And I will see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.